Strategy Corner, a show intended to equip you with the business principles to help you become the leader your organization requires. Our guests from top business schools, renowned consultancy firms, and forward-thinking leaders and executives will provide you with the contemporary business insights and principles to help you successfully navigate the complex world of business. And now, here's your host, Kwena Mabotja.
Hello and welcome to Strategy Corner. I'm your host, Kwena Mabotja. SAP is one of the top enterprise resource planning systems vendor in the world. It offers students an opportunity and exposure into the technology and innovation that happens in industry. Here to talk to us about the SAP University Alliances program is Kwena Mabotja. Kwena is an SAP University Alliances and Next Gen Manager for Africa, where she partners industry and academic institutions to develop youth technology skills. Kwena is also leading the Africa chapter of Women in Data Science, an initiative that aims at increasing the participation of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and promoting the field of data science as an emerging driver of digital transformation and potential career opportunity. Kwena, thank you so much for joining the program.
Hi, Lago. Hi to everyone listening. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You've had a very strong background. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I have a bit of an eclectic background. I'll start with my studies. I studied BCom accounting at Wits University. And then after graduating from that, I kind of realized that accounting wasn't really the thing for me. So I studied a PDM, which is a postgrad diploma in management from Wits Business School. And it's basically your business degree. After that, I worked in management consulting for a number of years, about 4 or 5 years. And then I took a year off to study MBA at UCT in Cape Town in 2012. That was followed by 6 months at London Business School on my MBA exchange program. And then after that, I spent about a year as a management fellow in Germany at SAP at their headquarters in Waldorf. After that, I then joined SAP Africa, and I'm currently now in the role of University Alliances Manager. Above all of that, I'm also a Mandela Washington Fellow from the Young African Leadership Initiative for 2017.
That's quite a strong background, hey? So you are at SAP now?
I'm at SAP now.
For the sake of our listeners, so that people don't think SAP is the South African police, what is SAP actually?
So SAP is one of the top technology companies in the world. And SAP is a company that is really responsible, or has been in the past, has been really well known for providing technology solutions to help companies manage their business processes more efficiently. So if you think of any business process in a company, from HR, production, sales, marketing, etc., you name it, SAP has been at the forefront of providing technology to help companies to manage their business processes. In Africa, we're quite strong, especially in South Africa. Many of the companies that you know in government and public sector are actually using SAP systems in some way or other. And I think globally, something like 70% of all global revenue at some point has touched an SAP system. So that's kind of how big SAP is from a global perspective. And of course, we definitely have a presence here in Africa.
So you are the University Alliances Manager for Africa.
Yes.
What is that program about?
Okay, so I think University Alliances is a global program, firstly. It was started about 20 years ago or so. And the reason why the program was started was because, we actually as a company realized that our customers and partners need people that have the right skills in order to utilize or get the best value from the systems that they purchase, right? What we were finding was that university graduates were not necessarily well exposed to technologies like SAP that they find once they join industry. So the University Alliances program was really designed to work with universities to provide curriculum so that they can teach technology systems in school using SAP as one of the main technology systems that are out there in the market. So a lot of curriculum has been developed over the last few years, covering different topics, broad range of topics. And we work with universities to upskill the lecturers so that they teach their students SAP, so that by the time those students are graduating, they are already equipped with a necessary skill that is needed in the industry. So in the past, the emphasis has been very much on that curriculum component. So in Africa, we also have this program. Obviously, we know that, in Africa, one of the main, I would say, opportunities or assets that are there in Africa is the young people there. And it's important that we then upskill them on technology systems so that they are ready for the workplace once they graduate. So this was very important from SAP perspective as well, because I think increasingly we're seeing that many companies are becoming more and more digitalized and are taking on systems like SAP. But there was this perceived gap, or there was a gap in terms of what students were leaving university with versus what they need in the market, which is also driving youth unemployment. So under University Alliances for Africa, we've actually developed a specialized ERP system called Enterprise Systems Education for Africa, where it was a public-private partnership between SAP and the German government, together with University of Cape Town. And what we did is we created a curriculum to teach African students about business processes and business process integration using SAP as a technology. So far on that program, we've trained about 4,000 students across 10 different African countries, working with about 14 universities. So we're starting to see more and more graduates that are coming out with a very good basis of an enterprise system. And that really makes them to become more employable, number one. But then also, number two, it's creating the workforce that industry is needing in order to drive their business forward.
You spoke a little bit about digitization or
Yes.
digital transformation,
Yeah.
which is one of the drivers for this program.
Yes.
If you can expand a little bit about what digital transformation or digital innovation is, and how does it, affect organizations now and maybe in the future?
I mean, I think we cannot run away from the fact that technology is drastically disrupting how businesses are operating. And that, the pace of technological innovation and disruption is becoming increasingly faster and faster. I think that there are a couple of trends that are at play. For example, if you think about cloud computing, I read somewhere that, in the next few years, more than 50% of the world's transactions will be taking place in the cloud. So, I mean, there's kind of that's disrupting how companies are working. Secondly, if you think of hyperconnectivity, everyone and everything is now connected. So I also read another statistic where 2.3 billion people will be interconnected via social media, for example, in the next few years or so, say by 2020. And what that's creating is it's making the world a smaller place. So it's really driving hyper-globalization, I'd say. So marketplaces are becoming very different. Customers are becoming very different. And that will obviously also change traditional channels of selling and traditional channels of explaining value propositions, or even the value chain in a company is becoming traditionally changed. Because of technology, certain pieces of a value chain are completely taken out and gotten rid of. And I think what's also interesting is, all these new companies that are coming out as a result of technology. So, there's new and cheaper, more efficient ways of addressing certain needs that are coming up. So competitors, for instance, are becoming very different. So if you think of think of an old industry like the hotel industry, hospitality. Look how Airbnb is disrupting that, So your competitors looking very different, but also, the profile of your competitor is different. So it's not this major corporation. It's someone sitting in a garage with their laptop. So I think with all of these factors, it's becoming kind of increasingly important for organizations to be at the forefront of innovation, making sure that they are keeping up with all the new technologies that are coming up, and then making sure that they are always innovating in order to remain relevant.
So you mentioned Airbnb, and I would
Yeah.
think of another company, Uber.
Exactly.
The technology is easy to do, but I think with the disruption that you're really talking about and the digital transformation has a lot more to do with technology because, I mean, for Uber, for example, the app is just a technology, but
Right.
the business model that came about Uber was the disruptive one.
Exactly.
And then with Airbnb, like you mentioned.
Similar. Yeah.
So I would think digital transformation is not only about technology because we can digitize our systems
Yeah.
and get more operational efficiency.
Yeah.
But to be more disruptive, we need more than just technology, but business model innovation. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. And I think a very important element of that is the people side of things. So if you look at these new companies, who are the people that are responsible for the innovations and where's the innovation coming from? So I think it's important to actually understand certain trends about people that are becoming more influential. So if you consider, for instance, the role of millennials, I think there's a lot that's been said about millennials and how their working style is. But there's also something that cannot be ignored by enterprises around millennials and the influence that they have. So I think the first point is obviously that millennials have a very different way of thinking and working and engaging with technology. So something like 2.5. So some millennials are 2.5 times more likely to adopt new technology versus other generations, point one. Secondly, millennials use technology in their day-to-day lives every day in so many different ways. I read somewhere 60% of mobile shoppers are actually from the millennial group. But then millennials also have the spending power, right? So they are also driving spending. And then if you think of workforces globally, 75% of the workforce are actually millennials, okay? So these are the people with the skills and the brain power and the thinking. These are millennials. And then if you look now from an African perspective, we have a young population in Africa. So 60% of our population are under 35. Okay, these are the guys that are moving into jobs that are going to be making influences in terms of how organizations look. And then also in terms of our workforce, it's actually projected to be greater than China's by the year 2020, I think I read. But the point is that there's this kind of this untapped, or there's this potential that's sitting within this group of people that are within a particular generation in terms of how they can think and innovate. And there's an opportunity for organizations to actually draw in that thinking capability, that mentality of millennials in order to keep up to speed with digital transformation and to make sure that it's happening, that innovation is happening on a continuous basis. So I think that's another element of it. And what I find increasingly is that major corporations are now starting to ask themselves, how can I actually tap into that innovative thinking, that different way of looking at things, that non-traditional thinking of millennials. How can I tap that into my organization and actually utilize that so that I remain relevant going forward?
So the other generation in America, they call them baby boomers. Do we call them baby boomers in Africa?
Yeah, well, I mean, all the research I think around the generational topic, we call them baby boomers, and I work with a few of them at SAP. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult because I will WhatsApp for the next meeting, like, oh, are you available now? And WhatsApp call. Whereas they want you to kind of make your meeting request weeks in advance, and then that's how you get the ball going. But, with the pace of disruption, there's a need to be more kind of nimble and more flexible. But these are some of the challenges. Yeah.
Let's talk about the curriculum. I mean, This initiative was started in Europe, I would think.
Yeah, the University Alliances,
was started in Europe.
Yes.
Obviously, the context is different from Europe and obviously in Africa.
Yeah.
What were the challenges in trying to adopt the European curricula into the African context?
I think if you look at the universities, I think they have a very different kind of learning philosophies across the different continents. So sometimes the curriculum that was coming from other parts of the world, it lacked something in context. So especially if you look at what examples and case studies are used, because I tend to believe that's a way to drive the message home is via useful examples that are relatable. Some of the examples, for instance, were about companies in Magdeburg or some company in Stuttgart, whereas for here, you kind of lose the relatability. That was a big part, kind of the context was not there for African students. But then just also in terms of like the pedagogy of the curriculum, it wasn't... So for the African market, it was more important to actually teach ERP versus what we were seeing from the curriculum as kind of like click here, do this, do that. Not necessarily providing the foundations to a certain extent. So there was a need for that to become more Africanized. And that's why we actually went for the project with UCT in partnership with the German government. To create a specialized curriculum for the African student.
So UCT was the pioneer for the project here in Africa?
Well, they were the university partner because obviously as industry we realized that we cannot sit in a tower alone and just chuck or just develop curriculum. No, it's important to have a partner that's on the ground, that is considered one of the leaders in terms of providing higher education in the region. And we also wanted a academic institution that had the will and the interest to be able to take this to the rest of other parts of Africa and not only kind of keep it within the South African context.
What are other universities in South Africa that are now part of the University Alliances program?
Oh, we have quite a broad network. So in the whole continent, I'd say we have about 80 institutions in about 20 countries that are all involved at different levels of engagement. In South Africa, we're working with most of the top ones. So if you think of WITS, University of Pretoria, your TUTs, NMMU, quite a broad network. I think where we'd also like to start doing a bit more work is with your previously disadvantaged universities that don't necessarily have kind of the resources of a UCT kind of thing. So to kind of broaden the reach a little bit, this is where we also want to start doing a bit more.
So how does the program work? I mean, let's say I'm a student now, I'm enrolled at a university.
Yeah.
Does it become part of my degree, as it were, or how does the whole SAP program actually fit into my own curricula, like for my degree?
So the way that our philosophy is to empower the university to roll it out the way that they see fit, the way that works for their culture and for their academic program. So in some universities, it's actually incorporated as part of their curriculum. And then in others, the ASIFA program, for instance, is offered as a short course. So it really depends on the university and how they see fit to roll it out. We leave it up to them as kind of the experts to decide how it fits into the program. But I think our involvement as well with universities is not only on the side of curriculum under University Alliance, because I think one of the challenges is also bridging the gap between industry and academia. So some of the work that we do, for example, is to organize industry leads or industry experts to provide guest lectures to students. If you also consider all the new technology that's coming up, like AI, IoT, Internet of Things, blockchain, there are so many new kind of technologies that are coming up. And sometimes the university is not able to kind of keep up with all the new technology that's coming up. So we also run programs or we run initiatives to actually bring in the industry into the classroom to shed more light on what is actually happening in industry and what's currently happening in terms of moving forward with new technologies. So
is it offered mainly on computing degrees only, or any discipline? Like let's say I'm a student in biosciences. Can I still have access to the program, or is it more on computing disciplines like computer science, information systems, etc.?
I think in the past, it's been very much focused on your traditional disciplines like computer science, IS, information systems engineering, those kind of areas. But I think now that we know that technology is really there's a technology aspect to all disciplines. And so this is allowing us to actually expand the reach beyond your traditional computer science. If you look at topics like data science, for example, this touches on multidisciplinary fields, and within a particular, and only now universities are actually starting to offer data science curriculum. But you might find that this is impacting healthcare, or it's impacting something in genetics. So very much now there's also an interest to incorporate the healthcare faculties within the discussion, because they are also impacted by what can be done, for example, with big data and or data science.
Just in closing, if I'm an organization, I'm a university, a student wanting to learn more about the University Alliances program, where do we go to get more information?
Okay, so if you go on the SAP website, you'll be able to find information on University Alliances there. And then we also have a new a platform that's designed specifically for University Alliances. So if you Google SAP University Alliances, it's quite simple for you to actually find more information. And there's also a social media presence, which is actually falling under our Next Gen banner. So we're very active on Twitter under SAP Next Gen. I can also be followed on Twitter for that, Kwena _Mabotja. And follow us on social media. There's lots of information out there. But then also within your university, find out if there's anything happening around SAP.
Okay, thank you for that information. I'm looking forward for our next discussion on the SAP Next Gen. Thank you so much, Kwena, for joining the program. That was Kwena Mabotja, an SAP University Alliances and Next Gen Manager for Africa, who shared with us the SAP University Alliances program, which helps students get exposed to enterprise resource planning systems in industry. Please join us again on our next episode, when we again speak with Kwena Mabotja on the SAP Next Gen program, where students get their hands dirty into some of the latest technologies and innovations that happen at SAP. If you have any suggestions about the show or want to recommend any future topics and guests, please email me at lekometa@strategycorner.co.za.
Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and found the material to be of great value to you. If you'd like to get more information about Strategy Corner and the services we offer, please email info@strategycorner.co.za, lekometa@strategycorner.co.za. You can also follow us using the handle @Strategy Corner on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the latest on Strategy Corner. Till next time, goodbye.